Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, you are looking at a relatively older man now that is still trying to do new things in his life. What I did over the weekend is something you're going to laugh at as so stupid because you've done it a million times before. But I did my laps in 70-degree water.
How'd it feel?
Fucking amazing. Took about 2 minutes of laps, and all of a sudden it went like, oh, this is fucking nice. I was very surprised. I did not expect that.
Yeah, you're cruising,
It was sunny outside, just relatively cool, but the water was cold.
Now that's one of the advantages you have of being outdoors, right? Like, so you're outside in Florida. I don't know, it's 80-something degrees, whatever. I don't know.
Today it'll be 79, but it'll be 80 in a couple of days. But yeah, it's been high 70s, low 80s.
So a lot of the outdoor competitive pools, right? Just if they're in California and Southern California especially, and South Florida, you're gonna have cooler temps because it's real hot out here, right? Like sun's beating down. That's good, and it helps you. You're like, ooh, I'm feeling good. You get the nice blood percolating.
Like, compared to 84 degrees, where it's like bath water. But I've been swimming at 76, 77, and I thought it's pretty cold. I thought 70s would be freezing. It just took, like I said, about 2 minutes. I thought it felt amazing. But
body adjusted.
But you don't, you guys don't normally train at that.
Oh, no. So, like, the indoor
77,
comp,
I read.
Yeah, indoor comp is somewhere in most pools, like 77 to 80 something. Like, when it's the swimmers know when it's like up in the 80s, they're like, it's a little warm in here. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. 70 felt good. Listen, I did maybe 13 minutes. It was 68 when I just checked. I'll go long. I'll go like 15, 20 minutes today. Nice. It'll probably be 70 again. Yeah. I need to be more consistent with it when it's that cold.
And you're feeling good though, right? Like it's a nice addition to because you walk still, you do your walk and you swim now.
When I swim, I do a bunch of core stuff and whatever. When I swim, I'm a Floridian, so I feel myself like almost nothing else I do. It's really strange. I was telling my wife that because she asked me the same things, like how did it feel when it was so cold? And I told her, I said, when I don't do it, I feel a little. First of all, any exercise is good for your body, endorphins and all that kind of shit, right? And I didn't feel good that I'm almost, I'm 60 in a year and a few months now, which is hard to fucking say that out loud. But yeah, my last year of my 50s is February.
Don't look a day over 59.
Yeah, exactly. But there's just something about swimming and going to the beach for me. It's in my DNA. It really is.
Well, first of all, swimming, as people may or may not know, is a total body workout.
That's great.
Every part, muscles you didn't even know you had. You're like, why am I hurting here? Yeah, because it takes a lot to swim. Two, and we had someone on, I forget what he was, but this was in the early stages of the podcast during the pandemic, and he talked about how living near bodies of water increased your happiness level.
I know that.
And I mean, as someone who loves the beach, and as you know, my parents live in Florida now, so every time I go down there, I'm like, they're 9 miles from the beach. Like, I'm telling you, David, like, it's just, as you know, because you're a Floridian, you by the beach all the time. The weight of the world is off of my shoulders when I am by the ocean, by a big body of water. We're lucky. We live right on the Hudson River over here in the city. Like, it's nice. I don't know why. It just is.
Yeah, it's something of the human condition, whatever. I'll tell my wife this because we're looking at homes, I've told you, out of the state. And the homes she sends me always are on like a lake. Because we don't want to be on coastal area anymore. Right. We've done enough hurricane dodging. And my attitude is, listen, the bodies of water we live by, we can go swimming and go hang out at the beach at. These lakes are different, like North Carolina or whatever. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's just something for me, though, it's just being underwater and swimming. It's just, I've been doing this. My mom said I got rest since when I was 2 years old. I was swimming ever since.
The water has healing properties, friends. It really does. It's very magical.
Players love it too. I can't say the number of times I've gotten calls, even just this year, from guys in their ice tub.
Yeah.
They're just chilling out. They know it's so good for them. Yeah.
Well, our bodies are 70% water anyway. So, I mean, there's something connected
them home. We're taking them home. Let the bodies be at home.
Correct. I love that you said you're going to be 60 and you're not afraid to try something new. Well, here's something new that's in the NBA,
exactly.
The NBA in-season tournament. And I have to say, look, everyone knows as I'm a European football fan, so this is nothing new to me. I don't think this is fine.
It's the same as European basketball.
It happens all the time. Like, who cares? Like, it's It's wonderful. Like, I love it because I love the idea of the team that I root for has multiple chances a year to win trophies, right? And the current setup for most of our North American sports, you got one chance. You win the championship at the end of the year, that's it. Everybody else, 29 other losers, or however many of the teams you have in your sport. I love this in European football, that you have your domestic cup, you got FA, you got Copa del Rey if you're La Liga, you got the Bundesliga tournament, you got Champions League, you have your league title. It's awesome. It's super, super awesome to have multiple chances to win trophies. And that's what the NBA is trying to do here. And just for a quick primer for everybody, so 30 teams in the NBA, we have 6 groups, 5 teams each, 3 groups in the East, 3 groups in the West. So you will play each member of your group once. So that's 4 games. The winners of each group with the best records, they automatically qualify to the quarterfinals, where it begins the knockout round. Then each conference, the East and the West, will have one wild card, who is the next best team that finished in second place in any of the groups. And if you have a bunch of teams that are, let's say, 3-1, they'll then look at margin of victory, point differential, all that to determine, okay, who is the better wild card, and they go. And then once you're there, those 8 teams begin knockout rounds in the quarterfinals and semis. The semis and the finals take place in Las Vegas. All games, except for the championship game, are regular season games and count towards your regular season record. David, that doesn't sound very difficult to me. Like, it's right. Like, it's a very simple process. Like, it's not complicated. But the way you would hear certain people talk about it, some of our NBA media brethren, oh, we don't get this. This is stupid. Like, the Bones Highland interview went around a bunch of times where he's like, honestly, I don't even know. I saw some trophy next to the schedule. I don't even know what that means. Marcus Smart preseason. Honestly, we don't care about that stuff. Jimmy Butler, all I care is about the Larry O'Brien trophy. And I'm just like, none of this is helpful in doing what ultimately we want to do, which is promote our sport.
There's my daughter's in the hospitality business, and I'm sorry, she's getting a degree in it. I have no idea if she'll ever make a career of it. But it's something I've been paying attention to for even far longer than she was going to school, on what separates like Saks Fifth Avenue versus Dillard's.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the pricing. Nordstrom's versus some of the other places.
Mm-hmm.
Service matters.
Mm-hmm.
Service matters. If you trust your car guy,
mm-hmm.
you don't care so much if you're paying more money if you trust him,
mm-hmm.
and there's a rapport there. At least some people don't anyway. I'm one of them. I think the league needs to sit all of the players down, and should have done this already, and I don't think they did. And then all of the regional broadcasters
mm-hmm.
and the national ones,
mm-hmm.
and walked them through the whole process, and then said to them, there's going to be a quiz afterwards, which I wouldn't mind if they did, which they
mm-hmm.
won't do, but it would be fun if they did. But guys, we are in the business of making money, right? Businesses solve problems. Our fan base has a problem. They have excess capital or time, and they have lots of different ways to spend it, and they want to enjoy their lives and their money, and we want to be an alternative option for them. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to convince them that their money is well spent in our arenas, or in their time is well spent watching our games. So, as much as we would love for you to be able to just play, just like I think I told you once, I heard maybe Michael Crichton, John Grisham or Michael Crichton, I'm an old man now. They were speaking to a group of people in China. I've told you this story before, university. Young lady said, what other classes should I take besides writing courses? It was all future writers in China. And the writer said, sales course, and she got offended. And she said, I'm trying to be a writer. And he said, well, if no one reads it, you're not really a writer. You're writing for yourself. You always have to sell. And so if you guys want to continue to make the fat money you're making, which you and I both are all for,
mm-hmm.
it isn't just enough to be great
mm-hmm.
at basketball. We're not asking you to take a tour like everyone
right.
that makes a movie has to do,
right.
or a book tour for authors. We just need you to say exciting things. And if you can't say it, just ask not to be interviewed. Don't accept the interview during this period of time where we do it. We want to sell the idea. Now, could the NBA have done some better things?
Sure.
To make yes, and you and I are not being critical.
Mm-hmm.
I was not impressed with the courts because I thought that was low-hanging fruit. I'd rather keep the court the same and change some rules. And I know why they don't change the rules.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. What integrity is there in records anyway?
Correct.
Because what used to be a foul isn't a foul, and on and on and on, right? Will Chamberlain is well respected. So is Bill Russell. And when you track their blocks, they're like 84 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're still doing just fine. I'd love to see the 4-point line or
Sure.
the 4-point area. There's a number of things I'd love to see. No zone defense, whatever. No illegal defensive rules. Nonetheless, it's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make our game more interesting. We're trying to get more fans to want to watch it, as well as these players got to make some extra money.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations, if $500,000 doesn't have much meaning to you,
Sure.
but your teammates don't necessarily feel the same way, nor do your coaches.
Yeah.
However, that money's split. So I'd like to get them on the same page on the marketing part of it.
I agree with you 100%. And, one of the things about, as human beings, we reject the unfamiliar, right? That's how human brains work. Like anything that we're not familiar with, oh, we don't like it, this isn't good, right? Like, well, the in-season tournament has no history yet because it just started. So how are you making judgments about it when you've seen one game, one day of worth of play, and all the teams haven't even played yet? We haven't even gotten to the knockout stage, and people are already poo-pooing the idea, right? Like, I just wish that people would give things a chance, right? Allow it time to iterate. How it looks now is not how it's going to look 10 years from now, right? The play-in tournament was widely mocked and ridiculed by 99.9% of the people covered. Widely.
And lots of the players.
And namely, the NBA's chief decision maker who says that, as Pat Bev says, whatever LeBron says, that's what we do. LeBron hated this as whoever did this needs to be fired. Well, if there was no play-in tournament last year, LeBron, you don't make the conference finals. Nope. How you feel about the play-in tournament now?
Right.
Like Miami Heat, you don't make the NBA finals if you don't have the play-in tournament.
Right.
How you guys feeling about it?
It's a gigantic success. It's fair to say the play-in is a fucking gigantic success.
Huge.
Yeah. And I like you said the 10 years thing, is I was saying the same thing. It'll be interesting if, I don't know, the Cleveland Cavaliers win like 4 of 10.
Yeah.
Or just some team that no one's expecting wins 2 of the first 5 for whatever reason. They'll have some banners in their arena. I watch.
Sure.
I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
They'll have some stuff. I also think that the league is in the business of helping young people fall in love with their league, with their players, and with their play. Not the older people already coming. Why do you fall in love? Mom and dad watch it. Mom, aunt, or dad, or grandpa, uncle, aunt, whatever. Or you want to follow a winner, and you've heard good things, like when you're young. Whatever we can do to bring joy to the fan base matters.
Mm-hmm.
It matters.
It does.
And this is something to potentially be excited about. Winning tournaments is good. As someone who's in the business of trying to help people win games,
correct,
and has been doing this for a long time, winning tournaments is a big deal. And I'll tell you something else. When you start winning tournaments, which is the playoffs, by the way, or tournaments, you get better at it.
You sure do.
Yeah, not necessarily, but very often. And so it would not surprise me one bit if the first time we have a league champion who has never won big before in the postseason, or even just wins a playoff series never won before,
right?
And someone references, we had those play-in games in that semifinal game. We were down 5 with 6 to play, and we scored 15 straight. And we knew, hey, someone's going to reference it because it just carries more meaning than a regular season game. It just does. There is a little consequence to it.
Yeah.
If the regular season game is 1 of 82, the play-in game is 1 of 4. I mean, sorry, the in-season tournament's 1 and 4. Right, 1 of 4 games you play. I think it means more.
No, I'm with you for sure. And I love that point you made about kids. Little secret there, by the way, guys. Kids love winners when they're young and watching teams play. They like teams that win. And so giving more opportunity, again, for trophies, chances to win, something that matters, that's a huge part in growing this game. Because, again, as time goes on and as there are more and more things fighting for our attention, look, we are married, wedded to the game, so we're going to be in no matter what. But this next generation, who we know does not watch games the way we did when we were young, you've got to find ways to get these people in, these young kids in, and get them hooked on the product and been like, yeah, I'm in. I'm an NBA fan for life. So kudos to the NBA for trying. I'm excited about the tournament.
Well, one last thing on the kids thing. Tell me if you agree with this. The courts were designed with social media in mind and young eyeballs.
I would imagine so. Yes.
People like me, I don't care what the court looks like.
Because you're watching anyway. Doesn't matter.
I have to watch, and then most of the average fans are.
Right.
And it's almost disconcerting a little bit. The players, I talked to the players.
You talked to them. They
were fine.
Right.
No one had said a word. I thought some of the courts looked slippery and slick to me.
Yeah.
And they said, nope, felt like a normal court to me. The young person is just going to be more drawn to that kind of court
Right.
in their social media feed, TikTok, Twitter, and whatever. I'm refused to say the other thing, formerly known as whatever, Twitter. Yeah, I think they're thinking that way. Let them continue to tweak. I wouldn't be surprised when you say 10 years if in year 2 or 4 or 6 they have a 4-point line.
Exactly.
Or some other rule changes. Hell, they can even put the rule change that helped Golden State win a game. You're allowed to touch the rim without affecting the ball. Maybe they'll put that in there. That's a subject for another day.
Stay tuned, guys. Something coming on. Just some observations David made about some rules in the NBA. But no, you're right about that with the courts. Also, it's done to be a signifier, right? Because there are 82 regular season games.
Yeah.
And if you are not people like us who are locked into this all the time and know, you can be like, wait, what's going on? But you see, wait, why is this court? And why are they wearing those jerseys? That's got a signal to your mind. This game is important for some reason or different. Why? Oh, tournament. Got it. Okay. Let's go.
Every time it runs in any highlight package ever, so you'll see 8 different LeBron James buckets, but 3 of them will be with weird courts. And in your mind's going to think in-season tournament. And it becomes a more natural thing.
Correct.
Conservative people don't like change, but it becomes more natural. And all of a sudden, it's just no big deal anymore. And they could become fans as well.
I'm with you. The other thing, too, David, and you know this because you coach these guys, they're competitive. You cannot tell me NBA athletes who are among the most competitive people in the world are going to be like, oh, well, who cares about quarterfinal knockout game? Like, no, they're going to want to win.
As soon as you get into, see, that to me is where we haven't touched yet. Wait till we get this single elimination, basically game 7s. I just think, first of all, Friday night,
right?
Most, the lowest number of margin of difference, I think the differential margin, point difference, ever when there's enough games played. I don't think that was an accident.
Yeah.
I do think there was a little more pep in their step, and coaches coach a little differently as well. They don't want to get beat by 25 when normally they would say, you know what, I'd rather rest my guys. This time they're not doing it because point differential does matter for tiebreakers, right? Yeah, I think that we get to that single elimination like the play-in. Oh, I think it's going to be on. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, these guys love, I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
You've ever been in an NBA locker room? These guys compete about everything. Like who chewed better gum, like whatever. It doesn't matter. These people like love to compete.
And these guys, hey Jarod, so between the semis and the finals, 1 day off in between?
Yes,
or 2?
Yeah. I think a day off in between, yep.
So any of these guys playing up north in December get an extra day to spend in Vegas, they'll be very happy with that.
No doubt.
Very happy with that. Yeah, who cares what they're motivated by? They're going to play hard.
Yeah,
they're going to play hard.
And I love the fact that it's a neutral site too, so that you're kind of going to get this interesting sort of
Well, unless
mix.
the Lakers are there.
Well, that's true. If it's the Lakers,
anyone that's been to Vegas knows it's a Lakers town.
It's Lakers town. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It'll be interesting to see if fans from the teams go. Like in Europe,
how they travel.
Deal.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It might be interesting to put a package together. Yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of European football teams, David. They'll like charter planes and then like send like. I mean, that would be crazy. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait. How did I'm trying to think of the Charlotte Hornets have this huge contingent of fans in Vegas?
If you're in the Final Four, which is what it will be, I am sure the team is going to try to put together. They'll get an allotment of tickets available for the 4 teams. There'll be plenty of tickets for sale to the general public, and there'll be people who go to Vegas for this week to gamble, but also just like go Super Bowl, gamble there. There'll be a group and. I think it'd be cool one day. Initially, it might be 1,000. I'm just making up a number.
Right.
1,000 per team. I could see it being 2,000.
That'd be really nice.
I could see that. Yeah. Like a Final Four. I've been to many Final Fours.
It's just
There's
fun,
a lot
man.
to be said about it. Yeah.
I'm in, David, and I'm excited. So kudos again to the NBA for innovating. And again, the beauty of innovation and iterate. You iterate. You continue to tweak and tweak and tweak until you find a formula that works out for you.
And good for us, by the way. You and I, who are very happy to point out the NBA's flaws.
Yes.
I am sure the NBA doesn't like us very much for that. But we are pragmatic, fair people. And since day one, we've been happy that they're trying to be innovative and get more fans involved and do more for the sport. So we're down for it.
Love it 100%.
Yeah.
All right, David, your expertise, player development. I was thinking about this over the past week. You know, Victor Wembanyama has been this force that's sort of taken over the league. And we often talk about reference points, right? Who you are as a rookie is not who you're going to be in year 10, right? And the greats.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah. I mean, I say automatic. Hopefully, you'll be much better in year 10 than you are as a rookie. But the great players of all time, LeBron, Steph, Chris Paul, KD's, all these guys, the reference points they have in their brains are massive. So there isn't anything they haven't seen before. They can recognize patterns, know how to adjust, and do all the other things. Rookies, it's a little harder for them, right? Because they don't have enough points of data to see. That's why they make mistakes more and a variety of different things. And I was wondering, okay, what about a player like Victor Wembanyama or Chet Holmgren, who seemingly, is it possible for them to have a much more accelerated curve? And I know you've worked with all different kinds of players, so I'm sure there are players who you work with who, for whatever reason, they learn quicker and faster and can process quicker. And other guys takes a little bit while longer. Do you potentially, it's early, I know, do you see that with either Victor or Chet?
I do see faster processing, but what I see more than anything is, man, these guys have hooped a lot, and I'm writing an article about it this week. They've played basketball with the ball and not just big men running up and down the court within 2 inches of the rim. And I don't just mean three-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're basketball players. Yeah, one of my best compliments ever was to a player I mentioned before, Dimitri Hill, 6'6", 300 pounds in ninth grade. I told him when he was graduating as the leading scorer in the history of the state of Florida for post players, if you had been, he was 6'6", 6'7", if you had been 6'2", you'd have been a Division I player anyway. Because you just think the game and love the game and hoop the game. That's how these guys are. They just happen to be 7 foot and 7'4". They're ballers. They are not soft. They are not easily intimidated, not at all intimidated. And they've played a lot. And remember, I told you the story of when I had dinner once with Bill Walton. I was at a function with Bill Walton, sat with me at dinner. It was a lot of people there, 40 people. And I asked him, what was your secret? Because he was really one of the best big men of all time in college, top 5 all time for college bigs. Do you remember what he told me?
I do not.
You'll remember as soon as I say it. He said, I can't imitate him. I had 4 friends, and I had a VW. It turned out, I thought he meant bug. He meant a bus. He meant a bus. I figured this out later because he's so tall. He ain't getting 4 guys in him. He said, I would drive to pick the Thorpe up, and we would just go hoop.
Yeah.
He would say, we would just go ball. Yeah, with his deep voice. And that's what he did. Because I thought he was doing mic and drills and all this shit. He said, I did that, but mostly we just played. And that changed me immediately. Right away, as much as I was in player development, I made sure my players knew an hour with me, 2 hours on the court. Hour with me working on your game, 2 hours playing pickup somewhere. 1-on-1 to 5-on-5, I don't care. Go play. Connect those neurons and synapses and whatever. And I think Chet and Victor have played a lot of basketball. Chet for Team USA, his high school team, which I don't know where he went to high school, and then Gonzaga, high-level program. Victor, not just as a pro, but also for Team France. And I think it really gives them a huge advantage.
Yeah, because they're I mean, as you often say about Jokic, it also helps that they're 7 feet tall, right? Like that. And in Victor's case, 7'4". That also helps.
And 8 foot wingspan.
Right. It's
ridiculous. It's like made up numbers to say that.
But highly skilled, but they have the reference points. Now, that will have to change over time in terms of skill development and playing, right? Because as you age, I'd imagine you probably advise your guys play less pickup in the summer, right? To save yourself and just refine, because
when you get to that point where you're 22, 23, you've already, and you're in the NBA for a couple of years. I mean, you've played hundreds of NBA games, and almost every practice is just, I'm lucky enough where I get to watch. There are players who send me their practice film. I would never reveal that, socially, whatever, but I'm able to, because they want tips on stuff. These guys are playing a lot of 5-on-5 in practices too. So we're talking about after 4 years, 1,000 more games. I'm not even kidding. It's that high a number. Yeah, they don't need to play pickup anymore. They can play for fun.
Right.
Don't think it's going to make a difference. If I went to Paris for a year, I'd probably become a better driver if I didn't die in a car wreck, because it's just a whole nother set of systems that I've had to incorporate into my driving abilities, right? But the guys who live in Paris forever, they're not getting any better driving those same roads every day, the guys and girls. It's the same thing with basketball. There's a threshold. Play for fun. What you now have to really refine some of your skills. That doesn't mean you can't ever play, but you're mostly going to do it in game condition stuff in your practice sessions. That's how I see it anyway. But for the short and the young, man, nothing beats playing. That's why the G League's so important.
Oh, and so many teams don't use the G League well at all, right? For what it could be.
Yeah.
Victor and the Spurs, I believe, play Indiana tonight, so that'll be
Correct.
interesting. Two young
Back-to-back
teams.
after losing Toronto last night after a 22-point lead in the second half.
Two teams that have porous defenses in San Antonio and Indiana.
Yeah, you're terrible. Yeah.
But Indiana likes to play fast and race, so I think that'll be interesting. Victor, for a big man, likes to race, which I love to see.
He looks for it. He wants to get out and get easy buckets. Yeah. Guys, Jarod, Victor is super special. This is not rocket science here. He's a super special player. Carries himself great, totally professional, very skilled, will only get more skilled. And remember, he's still learning this game. Yeah, and his own body. They're they've got some. Devin Vassell was out against Toronto. He might be out again tonight. He's their best player right now.
Growing injury, yeah.
That's a big loss. Yeah. But Victor is going to be playing for championships. Like the West has got some Chet, Luka, Ja. We can't forget him. This cat. Not to mention the world's best player right now, and LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard,
and Kevin Durant, and
KD. Like, come on,
it's a lot.
Right.
Just for those you guys who were looking, it's still early, but Chet shooting incredible right now, much better than Victor from both the field and from three. It's early. We'll see how it plays out. 25 games in where everybody shakes out.
I think Chet had a big advantage.
Got a better team.
Yes, and he spent a whole year with the NBA, and he's from America, and he probably knows where every one of these guys played in college, probably watched them in college. I happen to think that matters. When I've coached foreign players, I do make them pay attention to the college game so that the new college guys coming in, they're just more comfortable. Like we're all more comfortable with stuff we're familiar with, being more familiar with these new guys that come in. And Chet's had that. He's also the benefits of a year with our strength training. OKC does a great job of that. And Victor, I think they're not coaching him too hard right now to let him kind of figure some stuff out. Chet's lucky to be in the age of Victor.
Yeah.
He isn't the only unicorn, and he isn't the most talked about unicorn. And I think that helps him.
Oh, no doubt, because he's firing, it fuels him. And I know you love this. We've mentioned it a few times. Chet, Mark Daniel, the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, has given Chet a nice heaping scoop of royal jelly. Yeah. Right? Having those daily lunch or whatever meetings
weekly breakfast meals. Yeah, I think that mattered. I think it mattered. And they're a well-run franchise. I told the parents of an NBA player this morning who called me complaining about shit. Not about his son, but about the league. I said, Chet Holmgren and some of these other franchises would not be looking like this. OKC, these players are not commodities. In some senses they are, but not in this sense.
Right.
Commodity is bacon's always the same, except how you prepare it. You can bake it, you can fry it, right? Skillet, pan, whatever. That's going to change how it is a little bit. It's the same thing here, only more so. Chet's in a really good place, clearly, to me, and the Thunder are reaping the benefits of it.
Yeah, no doubt. So kudos. We got some exciting things to look forward to. Another thing I was thinking about, David, again, because this is what you do, you teach players how to shoot, and you've told me numerous times shooting is part science and part art, right? There's a little bit of both to it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things you've taught me is when you're teaching players to shoot is you make them over exaggerate the arc in their shot, because you're like, even if you're not going to still shoot it with as much arc as I want you to, but it'll be better than what you were doing.
Yeah. Normally when they shoot, when I tell them exaggerate the arc on this, they'll shoot it, and I'll say, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's almost always the case,
Yeah. And so a player who made me think of this was Dillon Brooks. He had a really good FIBA World Cup for Team Canada. He shot 58% from three on 4.3 attempts per game. Now it's only over 8 games, small sample size. I realize that.
Better than shooting 4%.
Correct. And then to start this season over 5 games, he's shooting 60% from three at 4 attempts per game. Now, he talked about the NOAA system, which you know about, which he used. He's like, there's a number they told me to target, and that's the number I always see in my head. So I asked you to look at his shot, and does it look any different to you? What's going on? I want to say, of course, 60% three-point shooting is not sustainable. Everyone knows that. Right. But if he can be a 36% three-point shooter, well, that's, 37. That's very good.
What about 40?
Now you're cooking with grease.
I mean, a plus defender and a 40% three-point shooter. So first of all, here's why it's not sustainable. Because defenses will adjust. So if indeed, in theory, we had a guy that could really shoot 60% in a game by moving and shooting, they wouldn't let him do it so easily. And yet you still want to get threes up. So it just makes it harder. Right now, he's more open than he will be in a month when teams start adjusting their coverages to make sure they take him away, right? He becomes, he's a laser. When you're a laser, you're seen as a knockdown shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So change up how they guard you. So I did watch about 15. I watched his threes this year that he made, and I went back and watched about the same number from last year. And I do see a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean he's doing it every time, because I if he was a client of mine, I'd break down every single shot, and we'd have some kind of metric on it. He's not dropping the ball as pronounced as he was. And so here's what I mean by that. This may not sound like much to you, but in my world, it's a gigantic argument. People used to love to pick fights with me on it. I don't know why they're arguing with me. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not saying it's the only way to shoot, but I don't like my players when they catch in their shooting pocket, for those that are watching on video, in this area here, if you're right-handed, I don't like them dropping it way down to their knees. If they do a little one, I'm okay with that. I also watch my hands here. I don't like them doing this and back. I call it wrinkled wrists. White dudes have the wrinkles. Most black guys don't. Most Asian guys and Latino guys don't. They can go back here, but they don't get it. So like you're holding a pizza pie, right? Or a waiter tray, right? So you're here and you shoot. Dropping is just extraneous movement to me. You're asking for more mistakes to happen in the mechanic. So if you catch it up high, bring it to your shooting pocket. Catch it to the side, bring it to your shooting pocket. Catch it low, shooting pocket, then shot. Some guys drop it way down, and there's a modicum of things. Players have experimented with this, Jarod. Kyle Korver didn't drop, then he started dropping. And when he dropped, all the people, I'm not going to say their names, but many of them probably listen to our pod. They're all like, oh my God, Coach Thorpe does no shit about basketball. These guys dropping. And I never claimed that guys don't drop. I just don't think it's the best thing to do mechanically. And then Korver famously changed back. Talked about it. Like you can look it up. Some players can drop. Ray Allen was one. And if you want to be a Ray Allen, good luck with that. It's like trying to copy Tiger Woods' swing when he was 21 years old. Yeah. Or Michael Phelps's whatever. They're crazy unicorns. But I noticed Dillon it's also a quicker release. Dropping it takes time, which means now you're thinking about the contester, right? He's in your head a little bit. So I don't notice the drop as much. It might just be a small sample, because players do, especially ones that used to drop a lot, they do tend to go back unless they are mindful of staying with it. My guess is he also has the art part going on. Something has happened. It might have been compliments of the Memphis Grizzlies who proclaimed publicly, this dude's not coming back to our team. That might have been like a come to Jesus moment, to use that phrase. And that might have freed him up a little bit to be, you know what, I need to be a different person. And somehow in that releasing of baggage might have helped him deal with makes and misses and threes. I don't know. There might be a shooting whisper in his ear. I used to always tell my players, I still do, when you score 50 in a game, you don't need to call me. Everyone in your family is going to call every cousin, every friend. When you score 5 and suck, I'm the first person you need to talk to.
When you go 1 for 18, that's when you call me.
I want to be the first guy you call. I've been on the phone with players crying their eyes out with shit when they were bad. I want that. That's how you build trust in a player. Be there when he's struggling, not just when everyone wants to be his friend when he's rolling.
Right.
So maybe Dillon has something like that in his life too. If I was in Houston, I would ask him as a reporter, did you change your mechanic? Are you mindful of not tipping as much? Is there just some other routine you're doing? Something's happening where he has transformed. He ain't the first guy for that to happen.
Correct. Yep.
Marc Gasol never took any threes, neither did Brook Lopez. It's good to see.
Yeah.
And it might make a big difference for Houston in a couple of years, because they have some good young players.
They do. We had Charlie Max Torres on, I wouldn't say last year or 2 years ago. God, the years are running together now. But he works out Klay Thompson with the Golden State Warriors, and he was describing Klay shot to me. He's like, it's like a piston. He's like, just down, up, down, up, and it fires. And your point about dipping the ball is I'm sure when you're teaching your players, you want them to have a repeatable motion that they could do under extreme duress, and it's the same every time. And if you're dipping down, to your point, you're just adding time, which is wasting. Why? We don't.
But if you can do it and you can get it off quickly, and that's your shot, fine. Some guys are such geniuses that they can dip and not dip, and none of it really matters. Like Joe Ingles can dip, but he doesn't always dip. And he used to be, he was a great shooter. It's funny how that is that way. It's not unique. I mean, there are in any mechanic, there's multiple ways of doing things and have success at it. And but I am wondering about your Memphis Grizzlies. I wonder if they're thinking, like, what the fuck? Like, how many T's does he have this year? Do you know?
I don't know.
He might have at least one.
He
I
might
remember
at least
I
one,
remember
but
one.
he seems to be. I mean, look, guys,
But
I don't
if
want
he
to
was
get.
shooting like this, they might have put up with the antics.
They would have. It's 5 games. I don't want to lose my mind, but you
Right.
know, we'll talk about the Grizzlies later. But that it's just something worth noting there. And look, we like to see guys succeed and do well, and you know, this is wonderful. All right, guys, we'll be back after a quick commercial break. All right, David, we at the beginning of the season in one of our preview pods, we did a 5 not hot takes, but like 5 bold proclamations.
You called it 5 bold,
Yes.
5 bold predictions.
And you were like, well, I don't know if this one's so bold, but I was like, no, I like it. You said, the Toronto Raptors will have 2 All-Stars this year. Of course, meaning Pascal Siakam was been an All-Star and Scottie Barnes will be the second one. And I was like, I love it. Scottie Barnes is looking outstanding. Now, there's a piece you talk about playing with joy, and he's not playing with the joy you like, but he's playing with something else you like. What are you seeing from Scottie Barnes?
I mean, he's been amazing. Siakam's not been. He's not an all-star right now. Barnes is. He's playing with force. He is. This is what I fell in love with when he was at Florida State, besides the charisma and everything, which matters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's like off the court in the locker room. I don't know anything about that. That's not something I see. There is a force about him. He is getting what he wants. This is an NBA player I talked to last night told me he's so fucking strong. And he's a guard. In fact, they're playing him a lot of point with Dennis Schroeder. He just bullies you and beats you up inside and gets tip-ins and backs you down. He also has he's an interesting shot maker. He's got a lot of Magic Johnson in him. A lot of just fucking throw the ball in. It's weird. It's not pretty. It's not a technique I would ever use to teach another player, but it works for him. And he's relentless. And I didn't look to see what he's shooting from 3. It's much improved. Made huge ones yesterday. Almost every game he's doing it now. He's blocking shots. Just absolutely can't be denied. And he's the best player in his class right now.
He is. Look, he's 6'8", which of course you love, and he is shooting long and strong. 5 attempts per game right now, shooting 42% from 3, which is outstanding.
If he's doing that, he's going number 1 in the draft. Who went number 1? Cade?
Yes.
In that draft. If Scottie did that in college, he'd go number 1.
He's averaging 22, 10, and 6 right now. The Raptors are like +8 when he's on the floor. I mean, he's playing phenomenal, and
playing
this
defense
is
too.
Which we always thought he could do from day one coming into the league at 6'8" with that athleticism and wingspan. Yeah. If he is that, David, what does that mean for the Raptors? Let's say he is that player this season, right? So that's borderline All-NBA. It's an All-Star for sure. That's damn near an All-NBA player. What does that mean for the Raptors as currently constructed?
I mean, their core, if they keep Siakam and find a way to get him to play better, and OG, they can keep or they can trade for a very nice piece. Jakob Poeltl's a solid center, solid. He can't score outside the rim, but he can pass a little bit in short rolls, rebounds his ass off, plays defense, rim protector. He's a very important player for them. Gary Trent's under contract's been struggling. I think that Dennis Schroeder is at best a 6th man. He should not be a starter. Their bench sucks. They just have nothing at all at the bench. But if you've got some core pieces like that in place, Darko's only going to get better as a coach. He's not very good now, in my opinion, but he's just starting out. And you can't argue with. They should have more wins. They gave one in particular. They gave a game away against Chicago, and then couldn't make a shot against Portland at home. They outplayed Portland, just couldn't make a shot. They're playing defense. I didn't look to see what they're at defensively now, but they're playing defense. I've seen it, and they've got Scottie, OG, Siakam, Poeltl as a foursome is a terrifying defensive group. Terrifying. So they need a real quarterback. I don't think Scottie should be the point guard.
So you remove him from point guard. You don't think that's the spot?
I would let him be a primary ball handler, but not the quarterback. Let him go do his thing and go score. You can play him with a 2 if you want. You really can play anywhere. They're not a team that should flush everything away. They should see where this goes because they can be a little bit different. They have a center that can stand toe to toe with most of the better bigs in the league. And they've got that wing contingent that no one really has like them if all of them are playing well. But they're away from that right now.
That's a team that'd be interesting to see. We talked about the preseason, the in-season tournament that I'd love to see. If they're there, like, ooh, they're kind of fun, right?
I'm with you. I'm with
This
you.
is huge. All right, David, we Memphis Grizzlies fans had a wonderful night last night. First win of the season. Woohoo! Only took 7 games.
And they beat the juggernaut Trailblazers. Henry lost sleep.
They beat the juggernaut Trailblazers. Okay, first, yes, they got to win. What are you seeing from Memphis right now?
Okay, to be candid, I tend not to watch bad teams.
Well, yes, and they've been bad.
Right. So because you asked, I didn't watch. I watched them. I saw them last night. But Steven Adams is the best offensive rebound of all time.
I said missing him was going to be huge, and you see it.
Yeah. And so that's a part of their team, dominating the glass on both ends, and they're turning the ball over. Not surprised considering all the changeover they had. No Ja, and then no Tyus Jones. Yeah. So to me, they don't have an identity. And they've had a little bit of bad luck. They're shooting okay, not great. Defending pretty good, which is a good thing.
Teams have been killing them from three. Been so hot from three.
That's gonna fall down a little bit. Most people think. I mean, normally it does, but they just can't count on themselves getting the second shot. They were getting over 30%, I think, of second shots last year, and so they just are kind of a team in flux right now. I would not be surprised if they bounce to near 500 before Ja gets back. I think it'll happen. Well, and then, I mean, he's a hell of a player. They're missing a hell of a player.
He is an all NBA level player. That's who they're missing. A 23-year-old or whatever he is.
And let's hope he takes advantage of his time the way Chet did for a year. Ja's got less to improve because he's already been a great player. But let's hope he's learned some things as a player. Forget about as a person.
Right.
And comes back even stronger.
I agree. I liked what Desmond Bane's been looking like offensively for them.
Aggressive.
Jaren also has had some really excellent games offensively for them, and I'm like, okay, we're it's coming. It's coming.
I would only allow this conversation. I would only have agreed to talk about this subject if I thought that there's relevance there.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to talk about the Wizards for more than 11 seconds.
They're jokes.
There is relevance with Memphis. If they can get to near 500 and Ja comes back. It used to be, well, you've seen Princess Bride. I am not left-handed. I know some you don't know. I'm not left-handed. When my son was playing high-level travel baseball, there were some teams that have you'd see him warming up like a relief pitcher that for whatever reason wasn't pitching against us because he was maybe going to start the next game, whatever. But we'd jump out to a lead and their pitcher was in trouble, and they would have we always call them the Kraken. They would bring a guy a foot taller than all of our kids. They're 12 years old. This kid's 6'5", and throwing heat. And we would say, "Oh fuck, they're gonna unleash the Kraken." Memphis has their version of the Kraken.
They have a Kraken
Ja, who's got this great energy and aggressiveness. He'll be fresher than all these other guys. They just got to get to 500. We're with that 5 games from that now.
Yes,
or 2 games below 500. They'll be fine.
Yes,
and then I think they could really be, as you like to say, cooking with grease.
I think you're right. It's not only, remember guys, it's also Steven Adams. It is Brandon Clark, who's out for the whole, maybe the rest of the year, who knows?
Yeah, that's a big loss.
There's so many things. So everybody's jumped up a spot. And to be fair, the rookies that they've drafted have not hit, right? For whatever reason, they haven't developed them properly. So that's a problem. Bismack Biyombo has his issues, but the one thing I was happy to see last night, look, someone who can set a screen. That's hard to get around and navigate. That helps.
Yeah, he's been playing a long time. He's been on some winners more recently. I can't stress this enough. They lost their starting 2 point guards, and as good as Marcus Smart is and has been, can be, it's still brand new for him in Memphis with these guys. It takes a while.
Yes,
yeah. You play enough games with guys, you know where they're going to be with your eyes closed. You really do. Yeah, I know this. I grew up next door to a very, very good player, my best friend in the world. And he was also a genius. So he played junior college for free as a basketball player, but only because our coach was an idiot. He was a Division I player. And then he had an academic scholarship to Florida where I was, and we would play pickup in the projects every day. He was probably better than all these guys. And I just knew where he'd be at all times. I literally grew up. We moved in next door to each other one day apart in 1973. We were 8 years old. We were not even 9 years old.
Synergy.
And I just knew, and we played football also together. So as a quarterback, he was a wide receiver, great hands. He had like a 6'6" wingspan and a 6'3" body, maybe a 6'2" body. I just knew he'd be it all the time. Well, that's how Ja and Tyus have been. And it's just, Marcus too in Boston.
Right. Not here. Yeah.
Give these guys some time.
Well, I mean, David, that's what makes the Nuggets so good. That's what makes the Warriors so good.
For sure.
The reps.
That's exactly right.
They just know. Well, a team, David, that does not have reps together as their core group, the Phoenix Suns. And something concerning right now. Devin Booker is out. He has a calf strain. And I kind of want to go through the sort of history of this. So he missed their final preseason game with a left foot injury. Everybody's kind of like, all right, no big deal. Season coming around, let's play. Okay, whatever. He plays the opening night, 37 minutes, aggravates the injury, and misses the next 3 games. And then in his next game that he's ready to play to come back, he plays 35 minutes and then misses the next 2, and it gets revealed in the MRI that he has a right calf strain. Why I'm bringing this all up is the right calf strain, these things are soft tissue injuries, right? And these are injuries you get from overuse. And also, as we talk about all the time in the NBA, there's no practice time. Once the season starts, there is no practice. You are games, and you try to get your conditioning up as best as you can. But as you know, David, as someone who coaches these guys, the bicycle and playing with the equipment guys and whatever, that ain't an NBA game. And to then come into, and that was the game against the Spurs where they were down and made the huge comeback. Like, these are intense minutes, right? For a regular season game. You can't simulate that in practice. And now he's got the calf strain. And listen, those soft tissue things, if you're not careful, that calf thing now turns into, is that an Achilles? What are we worried, right? Because that whole back of your leg, that's all connected. Achilles to your calf, up to your hamstring. That's one line, right? That's all connected. Look, I'm not saying gloom and doom. All I am saying is that, and this is what we talked about with this team, right? If health is going to be the number one thing, and they've already off to a rocky start.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fear we have for all these players that, and he's not even that old. How old is he?
He's 28, 27.
Is he that young?
Yeah, because he came in at 19, remember?
Yeah, he was the youngest guy, or one of the youngest guys in. I thought he was like 27, 28, maybe 29. I'm wrong, I'm sure.
Booker, how old are you? 27?
Yeah. It's
27. Yep.
They're better off. Take a month. Let's figure it out. When is Beal coming back? Do they know?
I mean, that's the back, and he's been looking good in warm up. But like, what does that mean? Warm ups, like, I don't know what that means. Versus, can you take somebody hitting you in the back when you're in? I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, they've got to. They can't. They just be better off waiting. Meanwhile, KD's piling up the minutes. And
that's good. And all this now means a 35-year-old Kevin Durant's got to play. It's just right. And this is what Henry says. It's like probably not going to work. Right.
That's concerning.
The math ain't mathing, kids. So not gloom and doom. Not Suns fans. I don't want you to be like, oh, it's terrible. Like, it's just you need a stroke of some really good injury luck right now because it ain't great. Another player, David, finally makes his NBA debut tonight. James Harden.
Oh yeah,
in New York with the Clippers. It looks like the starting lineup's going to be James, Russ, PG, Kawhi, Zubac. And we talked about that. And you said, well, maybe going forward, you think Russ coming off the bench, that second unit. Yeah. I think Ty probably, because part of being an NBA coach is not just communicating your message, it's also massaging ego, right? So it's probably, okay, let's give Russ some honorary starts up front. And then
I think it's more like, I'm worried about his ego. We're going to start him. Mm-hmm. And he has to know if it's not going great, he's the one that's coming off the bench. Simple as that. Let's just start him and go. If they win, great. If they don't, we know what to do.
And we talked about this. You believe that should be a nice seamless fit of Harden with those two guys and Zubac in the pick and roll, especially with Zubac in the pick and roll.
Well, those three guys.
Well, yes.
And that I don't love. That's where I think Russ has to come off the bench. I don't think those two guys need to be in the game at the same time together a lot, unless they'll get it when PG or Kawhi are out. I like the Zubac pick and roll with Harden. I like that you're not going to feature it a lot. Unlike Philadelphia with Maxey, who's pretty good, he ain't the level of these guys right now. The idea of a three-headed attack is it's what Brooklyn had with those guys, and with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. And I think they're going to be really good.
They are number one right now. I mean, it's early. I don't want to get excited.
Right, they played a weak schedule too.
Number one in point differential, right? So they're blowing out. Teams are supposed to blow out, right? No, I think the Clippers, look, again, with them, the same thing, health. If those guys are healthy, that's a tough out beating that team 4 out of 7 times in the playoffs.
I mean, it's you could see them with Golden State, Denver for sure as a team that wins the West. Yeah.
Denver. Have you been watching Denver closely in the early season?
I did about a week ago. Yeah,
MPJ, the 3-point ball is coming back around. It's all I'm like,
the
okay.
starting five's great.
It's the bench you're worried about. That's
Yeah.
that's the key.
Yeah. But we have all season to figure that out.
Well, not only
They have all
that,
season.
Jamal Murray he's out at least tonight. He is. We're gonna now see. Okay, let's see how that second unit does now. No Jamal Murray.
Reggie Jackson in the place. Okay.
Probably. I mean, unless Christian Brown. Like, who else are you gonna put there? It's got to be him.
Right. I
Like,
think it's well, only because Jokic gives you the flexibility to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Also true.
He can play all 5 positions. Amazing.
The greatness of Nikola Jokic. All right, everybody. We'll be back. David will have an article coming out this week. And we're going to talk about something on Thursday. Yeah, some rules and some things that David doesn't like about when he's seeing in the NBA. All right, everybody. Take care.